Hey everyone, welcome back. Omri here. Thanks for joining. Today is my 30th day of posting videos on YouTube. Woohoo! 30-day challenge to just share with you the things that I do and what I know. And to celebrate the 30-day challenge, today's practice was from the Bikram practice, which is my original yoga. Some people call it 26+2 now. I'm showcasing the standing series from the breathing exercise at the beginning, the pranayama deep breathing, all the way to the toe stand at the end of the standing series before we hit the floor. Thanks for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Every subscribe, every like, every comment, I truly appreciate it. Please keep sharing. I'd love to hear from you what you think. If you like this channel, please hit subscribe, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. So I know I promised to start the practice with the pranayama breathing, the first posture, but for some reason my camera started recording from half moon. What is or used to be called Bikram practice now has other names, is something I've been practicing since 2008, and I'm not as deep now in the practice as I used to be in the past. I haven't been focusing on practicing this series for the last few years. I've been doing much more vinyasa, but I've been teaching this for a very long time, and you can see those same elements from this practice come up in my vinyasa practice and my teachings, like this forward fold here, bending one knee at a time, and this forward stretch. But sometimes I do this one on the floor. This practice is very unique in many ways, and it does focus on the lower body a lot more than other sequences. It provides a clear advantage when it comes to balancing postures, one-legged postures. When I teach a class, I'll usually have a gamut of people from different disciplines. You can always tell the ones that have this foundation because they set up postures in a specific way, but they also know how to balance in a much more stable and controlled way, which helps. There's a lot of little details in this practice that aren't necessarily taught in a regular class. Principles that go beyond the basic dialogue. The verbiage for this practice is called the dialogue. Supposedly, it's a conversation between the teacher and the students, even though the teacher is the one speaking exclusively. But if you look at it in a way that bodies do express and communicate by the way they move, it is absolutely a dialogue, because as you observe students moving through the series, you can see how their bodies interpret the movements and the postures individually. And in that way, you can adjust what you're saying as a teacher to promote and adjust and guide towards the direction that you think is going to be beneficial for the student. This specific practice, the Bikram Series, used to be very rigid on what you can't and can't say, what you can add, what you can omit. But in the last few years, things have loosened up a lot, and there are definitely modifications in time. For example, classes only used to be 90 minutes, now they're 60 and 75. And I teach all three. There's nothing wrong with the practice being 60 minutes. It's a big time commitment, a 90-minute class. If you think about coming in, at least back then, coming to the studio and then getting ready to leave after taking a shower, it could be a 2.5-hour commitment easily. A 60-minute class lets you get out of the practice about an hour and a half. Now that we are mostly practicing out of home these days, it's easier to get away with a practice that's 60 minutes plus everything around it, maybe 90 minutes, and you can move on to your next thing. So I've taught both the traditional class and with modifications. Even classically, I've always felt that it was missing a lot of guidance, a lot of extra details that people could really use to make their practice deeper, more profound, understand better why they're moving and how their body's reacting to the different cues. The dialogue in its basic form is a basic wireframe for movement, explaining where everything goes. And sometimes it explains a little bit more about the sensation, and sometimes it also speaks a little bit about the physiological benefits, which I stay away from because I don't really think that there's a way to show that this movement is helping the spleen in some way. On the other hand, you can definitely add in this position, for example, that this is 100% about the contraction of the stomach, and that maintaining the stomach contraction from the throat to the pubic bone and the pelvic floor helps develop the sort of flexibility that you might be looking for in advanced postures. That's another thing about this series. This is the beginners series. There is an advanced series, and I will go over some of those postures later on in my videos, since I used to practice and teach both. Finishing up here with the toe stand or the tree pose, and then the toe stand balancing act. And here's an example of taking some liberties. Balance can be challenged, and you can get into much more interesting postures and movements if you look at your practice as a playful experience. Thank you everybody for watching. See you tomorrow.